What's going on, NBA fanatics? This is your friendly neighborhood Memphis Grizzly homer, Memphis X, and I talk hoops. It's Monday. That means the new series about power rankings for the Western Conference will be starting today, and we will take this from now through the playoffs, at least, maybe into the Western Conference Finals. We don't know. Just trying to figure it out right now. But first, every hero needs their theme music.
KeyAno.
Grizz gang, go hard. Yeah. Baddest in the game, we be on one. I talk hoops, so sit your all up on the court, but we gon' score. Memphis bringing heat straight from Tennessee. Jamal spiking, let's go.
I'm not going to lie. I am genuinely excited about the next NBA season. I mean, super excited. It even goes beyond just that the Grizzlies should be contending for an NBA championship, which would have me head over heels already for the next NBA season. I can't wait to see that. But the Western Conference is probably going to be the best it's ever been in a long time. And I mean, the only thing that's keeping it from being the best ever is the 2023 draft, and we already have some teams trying to position themselves to draft Victor Wembanyama, number one. You're already hearing rumors of the Spurs trying to give away DeJounte Murray for picks because they want to position themselves. And if you don't know, Victor Wembanyama will be playing for the same French team that former Spurs great Tony Parker owns in France. So there's already a connection there. So I wanted to do a series and track how vicious this Western Conference is going to be and how fast other teams on the periphery who see they can't compete in the West are going to drop out and try to go for Victor. Now, the first things first, this is just the post-draft rankings of the teams, of how I see them going into the next season if things were to stop now, start now. So this is not anticipating free agents. I'm mostly making some assumptions on teams. Like you'll see when I get to teams, if I made an assumption about that team, I'll tell you about whether they're going to sign a free agent that they have, or they're going to trade a player that they have, or if some of their players on their roster are going to improve, or some disgruntled players are going to be traded. So, without further ado, let's get this power ranking started. At number 15, we have the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets have what many people believe to be one of the best drafts this in 2022. They drafted Jabari Smith, number 3, when everybody thought they were going to take Paolo Banchero. They traded Christian Wood to the Dallas Mavericks for a draft pick, which they used to trade down and select TyTy Washington. And they also selected Tari Eason, 17 in the draft. And I think that's from one of the Nets pick that they got from the Harden trade. So, why do I have the Houston Rockets 15? Because I think they want to be 15. They are going to be a very, very young team led by Jalen Green and Jabari Smith. They still have Eric Gordon on the team, but I don't expect him to be there. Maybe as early as training camp, he might be moved. But they're going to have a very young team, not very much veteran presence, not very much experience, and I expect them to play a lot of youngsters night after night, heavy minutes, and I expect them to lose a lot of games getting their youngsters experience. And I think that is the plan, because if you remember, after I think it was the Russell Westbrook trade, the Oklahoma City Thunder have their draft picks going forward. I think after this season, they have either their pick or a swap. So it behooves the Houston Rockets to be bad this season. At number 14, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is another team that will be bad by design. Another team full of young players, very little veteran presence, especially throughout the rotation. This past draft, they drafted Chet Holmgren at number 2, Ousmane Dieng at number 11, Jalen Williams from Santa Clara at number 12, and Jalen Williams from Arkansas at number 34. I expect them to play a lot of youngsters like the Rockets, but they have Shea, who's a little bit better and more experienced than Jalen Green, and I think they'll be a little bit better depending on how long they keep, SGA active on the roster and not shutting them down like they have the last 2 years with no shame. So that's it. Number 14, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is Memphis X with iTalkHoops. While you're here, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell for notifications so you will be alerted to all the new videos I have coming up during this NBA offseason. We have a goal on this channel to get to 1,000 subscribers before the new season starts, and I'm going to need your help to get there. Thank you. At 13, we have the San Antonio Spurs, the aforementioned San Antonio Spurs, who look to be joining the Wembanyama sweepstakes. They were in the play-in last year, but this year they look like they want to bottom out. They drafted Jerami Sochan at 9. The questions about DeJounte Murray persist. Malachi Branham at 20 and Blake Wesley at 25. And really, this is another team with a lot of young players. I expect them to get rid of Jakob Poeltl also sometime before the season starts and to go totally young all season. So at number 13, I have the San Antonio Spurs, another team that they actually could be, if they do trade Murray without getting a significant young player in return, they could drop down to number 15. At 12, we have the Sacramento Kings coming out of the draft with the number 4 pick and taking Keegan Murray, which was kind of controversial. They didn't take Jaden Ivey at number 4, who was suspected one of the top 4 picks in his draft, in order to win now. And as you can see by where I have them ranked right now, I think that was a poor move. I don't think they have what it takes to compete in the Western Conference as is, and they are going to need another significant move this offseason to jump into the Western Conference playoff race. So at number 12, we have the Sacramento Kings, and I just don't think it's wise to be building around De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis in the Western Conference. At number 11, we have the Portland Trail Blazers, hopefully with a now healthy Damian Lillard leading the charge. They did draft Shaedon Sharpe at number 7 in the draft after falling short last year with Dame's injury. And they did trade for Jerami Grant without giving up anything significant. So this ranking is more indicative of me not knowing exactly what they're going to look like, because Dame has been good enough by himself to probably get them in the play-in, but the West is tougher. Dame is older, and I'm going to need to see how he looks post-injury before I decide and how this team looks together, because the team gave away a lot of their good players in trying to tank last year, and they haven't really made up the difference yet in the offseason. Now we have reached the play-in level of the rankings, and at number 10, we have the Los Angeles Lakers, who bought a draft pick in the draft, number 35, selected Max Christie, but they have questions abound with Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook. And it kind of gets you to thinking that if they can get Kyrie Irving for the minimum or the taxpayers' MLE at $6.3 million. What will they do with Russell Westbrook? Kind of gets you to thinking, but even if they got him for the taxpayer MLE, they would need to save cap room for next year to sign him to a long-term deal. That means Kyrie Irving to a long-term deal. So I can tell you this, if Kyrie goes there for the taxpayer MLE, the Los Angeles Lakers are going to shoot up the rankings. At number 9, I have the Utah Jazz, which is probably controversial since they've been such a good team for so long. But this is my hedge that they're going to really try to keep this together and keep Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. But the rest of the pieces around them are getting older and not better. And they have no other youth outside of Donovan Mitchell that can bolster the roster and help them be competitive. Now, I'm really not sure how they go with as far as trading Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. It can go either way with Danny Ainge. He could trade them both, trade one or the other, trade neither one of them, trade everybody else. Who knows? But for right now, I have them at number 9. At number 8, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Thank you for Jake LaRavia. The team that the Grizzlies traded with during the draft. They took in Walker Kessler at number 22, and they traded the Grizzlies' 29th pick to move up to select Wendell Moore at 26. The Timberwolves have a little uncertainty at point guard. Not sure what they're going to do with their point guard situation. They have an option to extend Karl Anthony Towns for the Supermax. And then they have D'Lo, who was benched during the playoffs versus Memphis at $30 million plus expiring. And we don't know what they're going to do. So there's a little controversy, but I think Anthony Edwards and the other young players that they have on their team will be good enough to have them here at the least. At number 7, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, and the rest of the NBA should be embracing for the return of Zion, who has been looking fantastic in his picks this offseason. Looks like he's in real good shape, and he's going to be ready to dominate again in the NBA. They also drafted Dyson Daniels at number 8. This is a team that was fully loaded. This is a team that probably should be a little bit higher, but it's going to be I think they're going to have a little adjustment period with all the new guys that they're adding. Zion getting significant minutes is a hell of a pill to swallow as far as shot distribution and defense. So we're going to see how that meshes well with the rest of the people. And Dyson Daniels is going to be also another pretty good addition. So they'll probably end up higher, but for now, we're going to have them at number 7. Number 6, we have the Denver Nuggets. And this is just to let you know how tough the West is going to be. They have the 2-time reigning MVP in the Joker. And they have Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. coming back from injury. And they are still projected to be at the same place they ended up last season, the 6th seed, which will be avoiding the play-in game. And, of course, they could go higher, but the thing that's limiting them is their ownership, who seems unwilling to pay the tax or a significant amount of tax anyway. And that is going to limit their choices on the roster and limit their roster flexibility. And no matter how good the Joker is, they are going to be limited by, clipping coupons with their roster this offseason. At 5, we have the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic's Dallas Mavericks. And Luka was seen on some international play looking in very good shape so far. The Mavericks, of course, traded for Christian Wood. And they are dealing with the unrestricted free agency of Mr. Jalen Brunson, who is rumored to be deciding between the Dallas Mavericks and the New York Knicks. And the New York Knicks, of course, employ his father. His agent is the son of the New York Knicks general manager. So this could go either way, and I think it's going to be a bidding war. And the question is, are the Dallas Mavericks prepared to pay Jalen Brunson 5 years, $125+ million to play and stay with Luka Doncic? We will see. At 4, we have the team that ran away with the best record in the whole entire NBA. That's the Phoenix Suns. Their main question is around DeAndre Ayton, and will he return? Will they sign and trade him? Will he sign an offer sheet with the team? Nobody knows. Will they be able to get Kevin Durant? That's also a rumor out there now. So, of course, if they get Kevin Durant, even if it's for Ayton and Bridges, they will probably shoot to at least 2. I'm just going to still respect the champs and keep them at number 1. But, preview. But we're going to for right now, we'll have a hedge that they're going to mostly bring back everybody, including Ayton, and this will have them right here in the rankings. At 3, we have the Los Angeles Clippers. And we're going to have the return of Kawhi Leonard. And most of their concerns are around the health of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They were looked at to maybe being a dark horse favorite for the Western Conference, until the Warriors turned up on everybody and won a championship. And we're going to see exactly, this is probably going to be the last season that people give any credibility to the Clippers if they aren't healthy. Nobody's going to believe. If they don't make it this year healthy, nobody's going to believe they're going to be healthy in the future. And this will probably be a team, much like the Nets, that will be a wonderfully expensive, failed experiment. And at number 2, I have your Memphis Grizzlies. And I will assume the Grizzlies, of course, had a very productive draft. They traded Melton to the Philadelphia Sixers. They're still holding on to the Danny Green contract. Let's see what happens with that. I expect them to waive and stretch him. They drafted Jake LaRavia at 19, David Roddy at 23. But, of course, the Grizzlies are mostly a team of youth, and they should be improving. Even the top guys, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, should be improving. And now there is some questions about Dillon Brooks and what his role and fit will be on this team going forward, and will he be on this team going forward? And, of course, there's no clarity on that right now. But for right now, we're going to stick with the Grizzlies at number 2. And at number 1 will be the world champs, the Golden State Warriors. They will be starting the season off, a quote-unquote season off, as the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. You have to respect the champs. They pretty much have everybody coming back. It's already been talked that they're going to have Kevon Looney coming back. I expect them to sign Gary Payton. They have enough youth in James Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody. They drafted Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Ryan Rollins. So they have Jordan Poole also, who's a young guy that should be improving. So they should have enough depth, youth, and experience to ride out this Western Conference in relative ease. If people can remember, they were destroying the Western Conference until they hit injuries last season, and they should be even better this season. So the number 1 team in the Western Conference war zone to start it off will be your Golden State Warriors. And I'm going to tell you, this season should be wonderful.